Steven Zhang, where are you? ¿Dónde estás, Steven Zhang? ¿Dove sei, Steven? ¿कहाँ है Steven Zhang? Wo ist Steven Zhang? That is the question for today's video, guys. Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel. Where the hell is Steven Zhang, Inter's president? We ain't seen this guy in months. The last confirmed sighting, for us as Inter fans, we've seen him on video in an interview with the Inter team, working directly, physically at Inter, was back in the Champions League final when we lost the Champions League final. That's the last confirmed sighting. Since then, the only other sighting that we've had in connection to Inter was at the shareholders meeting where he dialed in via Teams or Zoom or whatever, virtually. And we haven't seen him since. And as we know, I should have worn a watch. It clock is ticking, Steven Zhang. Tick-tock. The loan, the Oaktree loan, is expiring, and we still are unclear on what the hell is going to happen to our club. The loan, of course, we've explained it. We talked about it many times with Oaktree. The collateral for the loan that has been taken out is Steven Zhang or Suning's own shares of Inter, around 70% of those shares that lead to the ownership of Inter if they don't pay back that loan. Steven Zhang, as confirmed in the last few days in the report, Suning are trying to extend that deal with Oaktree by paying just the interest, which has now amounted to about 100 million. Crazy. Apparently Oaktree are not keen on renewing that loan or extending that loan. They may have to take over Inter if Steven Zhang doesn't pay off the loan, or if he finds an alternative payer, another person. So he's going to get a loan to pay off the loan and then pay more interest on that loan because he's already paying so much high interest on his current loan. Crazy times, kicking the can down the road times 100, times 1,000, this way of dealing with it. But my main question is, where is this guy? And as the Italian media now starting to talk about it, some front pages of newspapers like Gazzetta and Corriere dello Sport are saying time's up as the looming deadline and the legal woes are hitting. And this also personally, the Milan Court of Appeals sided with Chinese construction bank who have been suing Steven Zhang for an unpaid loan, but this is back in China, a Hong Kong ruling. And now the Milan Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of China Construction Bank, which means that these creditors may also collect his assets in Italian jurisdiction. So we don't know whether this means that they can attack or try to seize Steven Zhang's assets in terms of the ownership of Inter too. It's unlikely, but it's a possibility. But that usually means they'll go, if he owns a house in Italy, they can seize that as part of the payment, or those fancy cars that he's driving, that Pagani or even the Fiat 500 that we see him around in the center of Milan. When creditors are trying to get money back, everything goes usually. But I don't know if it'll come to his ownership, the shares of Inter. So lots of doubts, lots of issues going on with Steven Zhang. We know this is why, a lot of us are, as much as I am appreciative of Suning and what they've done, but you just cannot have an owner that's so insolvent, that doesn't have the cash, that's, a billionaire who's not, it doesn't seem like he is, unfortunately, because of course of the bans in China of foreign investment, he just can't pump money into his investment here in Italy, in Inter. So as much as I like him and respect him in terms of what he's done, he's put the right people in control. Marotta, Ausilio, Antonello, all the everything. He's put the right people in charge. But it's a ticking time bomb. So yeah, the deadline is the 20th of May to repay the loan. As we said, the 32-year-old president of Inter, but there are now big doubts about the Suning's future as Inter. Looming deadline. deadline is May 20th. Should Suning default the loan, they will lose control of Inter. And the funny thing is, using @Fi on Twitter, make sure you check him out. Bernhard, who is actually a treasurer. This guy is actual financial specialist. He knows his stuff when it comes to this. Is better, much better than my Excel sheet. This is not one of my Excel sheets. Mine are much more simplistic. It's actually, in terms of selling or outlook for the potential buyer of Inter, this is probably the best time ever for a potential buyer, because yes, there's still the you know, was it the 400 million bond, so on top, that's still existing on top of Inter. That's more of like a long-term liability. But then there's also, of course, this Oaktree thing, whether, you know, a new potential owner would take that on or not. I don't know how that would work. But outside of that, in terms of income loss, profit loss, this might be one of Inter's best performances of the last since I've covered Inter anyway, or since I've started kind of looking into Inter's accounts. According to Bernhard, if you look down this row here, this column here, his realistic financial year 23-24 outlook is potentially just, and this is, you know, crazy how we just say just a 25 million loss on the books. And he's actually was, even in his this is his realist outlook, but even here he's probably kind of underestimated, as he says in the comments, like some of the potential upcoming sponsorship deals and things like that. So it could even, or, you know, even the Scudetto, there could be some more sponsorship bonuses coming out of Paramount and other, you know, Nike, etc., that are not partaking there. So yeah, you can see in his optimist column here, if some things end up, you know, working out even better, we may even, we almost may break even, which would be amazing. You know, if you go back to just a couple of years ago when we made you know, record losses of over 150 million or whatever it was, close to 200 million. That's massive. So in terms of that, the work that's been done over the last couple of years since COVID of trying to reduce the costs, the wages, squad costs, the amortizations, all of that stuff is finally starting to pay off. And of course, this past year, we also have a massive amount of plusvalenza capital gain coming from, you know, Brozovic sale, Onana sales, etc., which, you know, is not, you know, you're not going to be able to do that every year. So this may be a bit of a, you know, a one-off year in terms of, you know, you had the Champions League final plus all these plusvalenzas. So in terms of, you know, income, it was a bit of a unicorn year of, you know, 460 million revenue. Let's see if that can be kept up in the upcoming years. Well, there's also, of course, the upcoming World Cup, Club World Cup, which, you know, as here Bernhard's estimated, might push us to even 500 million revenue, which is really, really good. So potential new buyer for Inter actually comes into much better situation than it would have been, you know, pre-COVID or just after COVID. But it still doesn't look like Steven Zhang wants to sell. And here, another article from Bellinazzo, who works for Sole 24 Ore, 24 Sun 24 Hours, which is a decently reliable when it comes to financial news in Italy source. He talks about that Suning are not just talking to Oaktree, they're talking to multiple potential options outside of Oaktree. The deadline on the loan is closed. The talks between Inter and Oaktree are moving along, but there's still no decision made on the refinancing. In addition to the talks with Oaktree, Zhang and Suning are also carrying out negotiations with other funds. There is a fair bit of optimism on the part that they can gain more time with higher interest. The journalist was clear that the Inter owners don't want to lose control of Inter. And that is clear as well. Last few years, you know, remember there was those guys selling you dreams about PIF. The Saudis are coming, these guys, the Qataris are coming, it's coming. That never ended up being true. By the way, those people that used to comment under my video saying that, don't worry, the Saudis are coming, you don't know nothing, bro. I still haven't seen comments from those guys retracting those statements, which is interesting. Everyone's very quick to point out, you know, when they believe in something, but then they're never very they're ready to quick comment then, but they don't retract that comment or apologize afterwards. But yeah, I never believed in those. And I don't think the thing with Suning and Steven Zhang is they're so secretive with the way they move. Like Italian journalists just haven't been able to really, any type of source is just speculating at this point. We don't know what really goes on over there. That's what we have to give them credit in terms of. It's not good for us because we want to know what the hell's going on with Inter, but they do manage to keep things very secretive. But as we said, Steven Zhang has put things, in terms of the right people in control. He's not like the presidents of like Lotito, Aurelio De Laurentiis, the Lazio and the Napoli president. These guys presidents are very heavily involved, even like Berlusconi, or even, thinking back to Moratti, heavily involved guys that try to have a say in day-to-day things. But Steven Zhang is like, I hire the best CEO in Italian football, Marotta, done. Keep Ausilio as his number, right-hand man, bomb. Hire the best coach that was available at the time, which was for Inter's Banter era, Spalletti. Then afterwards, Conte. Then afterwards, Inzaghi now clearly turned out to be the right hire. So even without Steven Zhang and Suning, this can continue with Marotta still at the helm for a couple of years, and this management team. So my hope is just, this situation to be resolved as soon as possible, and a bit more clarity from Steven Zhang, because we haven't heard from this guy. He didn't speak out when we went out of the Champions League. He's always very quick to post when we win or we go, good results, but we don't really hear from him when there's bad results. I haven't seen him in Italy for a long time. I bet he'll actually, I don't know now that with this China Construction Bank ruling, I don't know if we'll see him in Italy again now, to be honest, which is not nice. You don't want your owner to be involved within dodgy stuff. I mean, of course, billionaires and owners, all of them, there's always something dodgy going on. None of them are complete angels, but when you see loans not being repaid and them being sued and actually losing on rulings, it does not reflect well on the club. So let's see how things go. That was my update for today. I just want the situation to be resolved, and of course I also want to know your opinion on everything, guys. Of course, the hashtag Suning's out. I know exactly what your opinion is, but yeah, it's always nice to get that conversation going with you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Expect some Nerazzurri content. Italy are going to play later on today, the second friendly. I want to make my team that I would take to the tournament Euro 2024. And of course, let's see what Spalletti does as well. So keep a look on the channel for that. Ciao ragazzi, always, Forza Inter, Forza Azzurri.